everybody. Welcome to Straight Outta BS podcast again. I want to thank you guys for the continued support. You guys are fucking awesome, for real. I'm just like blown away. I'm kind of speechless. Yeah, but just thank you guys so much for all the support. Thank you to my Patreon members. None of the financial support was ever expected. So whenever I get financial support, it just fucking means like the world to me. So thank you guys so much. It means the world to me. Please continue to share the videos, like them. If you're not subscribed already, hit the subscribe button. It really helps the algorithm. I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction or anything like that. So on the count of 3, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what years.
Oh, sure, man. Thanks for having me. My name is James Griffey. I went to Agape boarding school. I got there in summer of '98, and I left in, I think it was like May 2020. Sorry, yeah, 2002. I think is when I left. So.
Okay. Yeah. And can you walk us through what was happening at home before you, or what was happening at home like that led up to you being sent there? Can you walk us through that?
For sure. Yeah, definitely. As of most of us that went through the programs, right? Like came from like a broken home. You know, my mom had died when I was 3, and then my dad was like drug addict, so he was like out of the picture. So he just wasn't in the picture. And then grandparents took me in for a little bit. And then I just bounced around from family to family. Eventually landed with my aunt and uncle. It was my mom's brother and his wife. They had me for a minute, but then just started acting out and doing stuff, you know, you shouldn't be doing in school. I take that back. I was a good student. I was getting A's and B's, doing everything was good, but like, I don't know how old you are, but like I'm 40 and like around this
33.
time.
33.
Oh, 33. Okay, there you go. Okay. So I don't like, it's probably, you're probably way too young for this to happen around the time you're like, when I was in like about 6th grade, Ritalin.
I was on Ritalin from like about the age of 5.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, there you go. Yeah, because like for me it was 6th grade, so I guess that's about right about the age difference, because 6th grade I got diagnosed as ADD and hyperactive disorder, right? Something stupid like
ADHD?
That. I think it might be ADHD, and then also like it was like hyperactive disorder, some stupid thing like that. I was too hyper in school.
That's the same thing with me. Yeah.
Oh, really? No way.
Yeah, I couldn't sit still. I just couldn't, like, when it came time to like sit down and like do work, yeah. I couldn't just sit down. I couldn't just sit there. I wanted to be up doing stuff. Like,
dude, right. Yeah. That's so interesting. I thought it was a unique case, but it's like, I guess a lot of us probably got diagnosed, I should say, right?
Yeah.
We're kids. That's so crazy. Okay. Yeah, the same thing with me. I was getting A's and B's, but I was always moving around the classroom and stuff. Actually, I realized that just switched cameras on me from my other webcam. Sorry about that. But yeah, so I don't know about you, but when they put me on Ritalin, I went from being this like happy, energetic kid to literally like not eating, depressed, like suicidal, really, at like 6th grade. Like,
well, you just it pretty much turns you into a zombie.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're controlled. I was controlled now. Like I was getting F's and D's in school, but I wasn't disrupting the class.
Yeah. I used to be like the class clown and stuff like that too. So I totally get it. Like I was just always, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I was always joking off doing something, but the teachers just didn't like it. How crazy, dude. Wow. You know what? I'm curious how many more of like us like ended up eventually going to like a school or program where someone just a kid like that, you know, just hyperactive, and then
I'm sure it's a lot of us. I'm sure there's a lot of them.
Oh man, that's interesting. I wish I would have thought about asking more people about this like a long time ago when I started talking to the survivors, but that's interesting.
You should make a post in one of the groups, and I guarantee people are going to be like, yeah, that's me.
Dude, that's a good idea. And also maybe on this video, because I know you post these on YouTube too. So maybe if people are listening, I'm really curious how many people will comment just saying, oh yeah.
I'm sure there will be comments on this video too.
Oh, dude, that makes me feel so much better, to be honest with you, because I mean it's kind of hard thing to like really accept that you're like drugged as a child.
Yeah, and that they had to like they had to medicate me because I wasn't, I wasn't normal enough for them,
Yeah, right. That's
whatever
such
the
a
fuck
great
normal
thing.
is, whatever the fuck normal even is, like,
Yeah, 100%, man. That's wild, dude. Okay. I mean, I'm sorry that you went through that too, but I mean, it feels good knowing that,
yeah, you're
right?
not alone, bro. You're not alone.
Yeah. But that like that whole period of time, I started going through a dark, really dark spiral in life. I started hating life, hating everything, and just really acting out more and more in school. I'm really just giving you the cliff notes of like everything that led up to this. But I started acting out in school, started acting out outside of school, like just doing crimes, started like doing drugs, like smoking weed and stuff like that. Um, and then selling it and stuff and everything. And it's just one thing led to another. My family eventually sat me down and said, "Hey, we're going to drug test you." And I think it was in 4 weeks. If it comes back positive, we're sending you away to this program. And they showed me the brochure and everything. So, and I was just like, I didn't believe them, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I just woke up one morning. My uncle walked in. He's like, "Here, go in the bathroom and pee in this thing." I'm like, "Whatever, dude. You're just trying to scare me, you know." But they weren't just trying to scare me.
Did you actually go pee and then fucking did they find out like that?
Yeah,
You just okay, okay.
they legit took. Like I actually, I mean, I actually only smoked once in those 4 weeks.
Yeah, but
You
it
know,
stays in your system. It stays in your
yeah,
system. Yeah.
right. Is that yeah? So it was like I knew when I was like I know it was going to come back positive, whatever, you know. So and it did, and they were just like, okay, well we gave you a chance. We told you, you know, we're going to do this thing, and so yeah, I mean that's really what led up to me being sent to Agape. I mean that's really like the compressed version, you know, like but it's just coming from a broken home and all the perfect kind of child that goes to these programs, you know, it's like they want someone who's parents aren't together or in the picture or adopted and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah,
Or
or if they're already in the foster care system, even better because they don't have anybody that can speak up on their behalf, and the child, if they speak up, they don't have anybody to represent. Like
yeah,
it's
dude, it's
it's it's
sad.
really it's really fucked up.
It's really, yeah, 100%. And it's crazy that like watching that documentary, like the program, and like just seeing like how much information. They did such a good job capturing so much information about the industry and everything. But what's going to happen? Like that was the thing. I got done watching it today. I just finished episode 3 this morning, and I was just like, oh, this is great information, man. This would anyone in the right mind, this should just like light a fire underneath them to like want to make a change and protect children. I'm like, but nothing's going to. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but time and time again, things have come up and bubbled up to the top like this, and then everyone's like freaking out about it. But then these people with so much money. I mean,
Well,
what?
and we just need to keep the momentum up. Like we have something good going right now. We need to keep the momentum up and keep riding this wave. Like we just
Yeah,
need not let this wave crest and crash. Like we can't because
dude,
we have momentum right now. We need to use this. You know what I mean?
for
So
sure.
that's why I'm in
Yeah,
grind mode. I got the next like almost 3 months lined out every day with an interview. So I'm just like trying to
nice,
get shit
dude.
out there. Like I'm really just trying to use this as like a catapult to
Yeah,
like make our voices heard because everybody has a story. And
yeah.
so
Dude, and this, so I remember my first podcast interview I did. Amanda, you had her on here, or Berlin is how you know her. You had
yeah,
her
yeah,
on here. She had recommended me to someone because he was only able to get girls to come forward and talk, and then she was like, hey, he wants to have a guy come on the podcast and share his story. I'm like whatever, like I'm a dude. I'm not going to come share my story, but I guess I'll do it for the hell of it. But no one's going to care, And then like one thing led to another, it was so therapeutic. I didn't care if anyone watched it, but when I got done telling my story to that guy, the complete stranger, but he heard me out, believed me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that was so therapeutic. I don't even care if anyone watches this. That just felt
exactly.
so good sharing my story and being heard. So props to you for doing this, dude, because I know doing all this, like there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of running a podcast, getting the videos uploaded, like I was like going through YouTube and stuff. I mean that each one of those is a lot of work to get these things going, man. So like I know you're not doing it for praise, but madly appreciate you doing this, dude. Seriously. So
I really appreciate that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
really
yeah, seriously, man. But yeah, so I mean, but yeah, I mean, going back to what you're, what like led to going to school, like that's that's pretty much it. I mean, there's more to the story, more in depth. I've, I don't know. I've really changed the way that I view my life. I used to feel myself as a very like sad victim, and I would tell the story of my life in a very victim kind of mentality. Look what happened to me. My mom died. But I've really like revisited all these things in life, and like they just happened. My mom just died. Like
Yeah.
it didn't happen to me. Like I don't. I'm a 40-year-old man. You know, I don't need sitting there crying about. It's still sad. You know, I still
Yeah.
celebrate her birthday every year and stuff like that. You know, but
You're
it's
just
just
not going to dwell on it. You're just not dwelling on things, essentially.
exactly, yeah, exactly. And the things, and maybe it meant a certain way to me as a child, looking at it back as an adult, like I used to think it was my mom's fault it was no, sorry, I used to think it was my fault that my mom died because I
Yep.
was literally in bed with her, like when we're taking a nap and she had a seizure next to me and swallowed her tongue and died, and I used to like, why didn't I wake up? Why didn't I save her? Why didn't I do what? How am I supposed to know that, you know? But now as an
Yeah.
adult, I can look back, but I tortured myself for decades with that, you know? So it's interesting telling my story now about stuff because it's just a different perspective. I feel like now being older, you know? Um, but
Okay.
yeah, so yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, so but actually, I know you're asking me questions, but I'm curious, what program did you go to?
I went to Spring Creek Lodge Academy.
Okay, I haven't heard of that, but then again, there's thousands of them, so.
Yeah. Yeah. It was in Thompson Falls, Montana. It was in like
Oh
this
wow.
really, okay, actually, it was like 30 miles to the nearest town, which was Thompson Falls. And then, so the program was literally out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of the woods, just like
Yeah.
fucking forest for miles on any side. And just like, yeah, that's where that was at. I was there
So
22 months.
was it one of those a wilderness program, right? Type of like was that the style?
No, it wasn't a wilderness program, but we did have a wilderness component to it that your parents could pay a little extra to have you go on this. It was supposed to be like a privilege to go on this wilderness thing, I guess. Which,
That's
okay,
ridiculous.
I don't compare the wilderness at Spring Creek though with
Yeah.
wilderness programs because
Okay.
what happened at the wilderness programs was a lot more intense, in my opinion, than our wilderness that we went on.
Gotcha. Okay.
If that
Interesting.
makes
Yeah.
sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
our wilderness was an extension of Spring Creek. It
That's your.
wasn't its own thing.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
It wasn't dedicated to just that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
Yeah,
because people keep asking me about Agape and comparing it to the the documentary about the program. Like, hey, was Agape like that? I'm like, it was kind of like that. I was like, just a lot more physical. Like the video clips that they show in the program of where the boys are being restrained and picked up by their neck and thrown around, like that was on the daily. Like that's just what happened at Agape, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Did-
But it wasn't the same exactly as Ivy Ridge, which was in the documentary. Like it was a bit different, but similar aspects, but different, you know? Yeah.
yeah. So
Uh,
when you went, did you get transported or did your parents bring you up there? What can you walk us through what happened with that?
yeah. So my family, they took me. I didn't believe that I thought this was all scare tactic, mind you.
Yeah,
They left the Agape pamphlets out on their kitchen counter and all this other stuff for me to see. I thought it was all scare tactic. I didn't think they would actually take me there. And then my family were like, okay, well, you drug test came back positive. We're taking you to this boarding school. You know, like we gave you a chance. I'm like, okay. And so I packed my own bag. You know, I said goodbye to my friends. You know, like I had a few friends like show up that night before I was leaving the next day, and like we were able to like say goodbye to them. I was like, I'm going to Missouri for a little bit. I'll be right back. You know, I said goodbye to my girlfriend at the time, thinking I was going to be back in like a day or two. You know, but yeah, so I flew out to Missouri with my aunt and uncle who are my guardians, and we get to Missouri, get down to Stockton, Missouri, where Agape is at. But then it was interesting because Agape had just burned down. Like the school just burned down in June of that year, and this is July. So like they didn't really have facilities to show my family. So I don't know if they strategically did this or not, but they met us off campus.
interesting.
There was a work detail happening at a local golf course that's there in town, at Stockton, and so my aunt and uncle with me in the car pull up to the golf course, and there's like white vans here with staff members wearing green shirts, and then all these boys are working in like the pond pulling these reeds out of the pond. And like they're all wearing different color shirts and stuff like that. And we get there, and the staff introduce themselves, my uncle, and me. And then they just yell out some kid's name. They're like, Garrett, and some kid comes running from the group over to me. And they just say, hey, this is James, take him and put him to work. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, I'm wearing like all brand new clothes, whatever. So, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to show my family that I'm not phased they're not scaring me with this crap.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, this guy, Garrett's like, come with me, man. I go with him, and he's like, just start pulling these things and putting them over here. So I get in there, getting all muddy, pulling them, putting them there. And all of a sudden, I turn around and I look, and my aunt and uncle are in the car driving off. Like, and I was just like, and I'm like, what? And I try to get out of the water, and they grab me, like, what are you doing? I was like, my family, they're leaving. They're like, and then all the kids start laughing because they know what happened. They're like, dude, you're here, bro. Like, you're not going anywhere. And so I was just so confused, and I like had to keep working. And then I remember then we got done working. They had to line up and load up into the vans to head back, and then they made me sit in the middle, which I didn't understand either, because I guess when you're new, you're a flight risk,
Yeah.
right? So, but
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
think
know
you're
what
gonna
that meant.
run.
Yeah, exactly. I never even thought about running, but they thought I was going to run or whatever. So they had me sitting in the middle, and we drive back to the school in these vans, and we get out, and then they go do the intake with me, where the staff bring me with my suitcase into like the front offices, and they strip me down to my underwear, not naked, thank God, but down. I always wore boxers, but part of the school dress code, even though they'd updated it since they sent out the dress code to my family, was wear the tidy whities. So I'm like a 15-year-old teenager dude, like standing in my tidy whities in front of these staff members, like it was so it's complete strangers. Like, I'm just like grown men. It was thankfully I wasn't naked. They didn't do no cavity search or nothing, but it was crazy. And they just went through all my stuff. All like, yeah, you can have this shirt, you can't have this shirt. Well, no, actually, no shirts, but you can have these pants. These pants are too baggy. You can't. And then my family had given me an NIV Bible because my family's Christian. So they gave me a Bible and wrote a really nice note in there or something like that. And like the Agape people were like, you can't have this. This is not the word of God. And they took it and threw it in the trash, you know, because they only believed in the King James Bible there.
Wow.
So interesting. But yeah, that was that was the intake, and then they brought me down to my that guy Garrett was considered my buddy. To give me initiated in the program. I had to be within 3 feet or 5 feet. I think it's 5 feet of him at all times, and I had to be in front of him. Like whenever we're walking somewhere, I had to be in front of him within 5 feet. If I just walked off and he stopped, like all the other 200 students there could tackle me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But and at Agape they hand out push-ups. Like so, Garrett, my buddy, can hand out push-ups to me, as a punishment, 25 at a time.
Okay.
And I remember it's the first day is kind of a blur until we get down to the dorms. And then we're in the dorms. You're not supposed to talk to anyone. Like you're not allowed to talk unless the staff member's around you. And I think I was on my bunk bed on the top bunk in the evening, and I said something to the kid across me at the other top bunk. And I remember saying something like, "Hi, I'm James," or something like that to him, and he was another new kid too, and he just looked at me scared, like I just did something really bad. And I was like, "What the hell?" And my buddy, like, I remember him, he's like, "Are you talking to him?" I was like, "Yeah, I introduced myself." He's like, "Get down and do push-ups." I'm like, "What?" So I get down, I start doing the push-ups. And I think said something to him again, to my buddy, and he's like, "That's 25 more push-ups." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I'm doing these push-ups, and my arms collapse because I'm just super weak. I'm not, you know. And so I was like, "I can't do these. I'm sorry, I can't do them." He's like, "Come with me." So he walks me to the front of the dorm, and that's where the staff sleep or sit, whatever. And they take this guy. Can I say names on this podcast or?
You want to say names? You can say names.
Okay, cool. So he brings me up front to this guy, the staff member named Rich Hannaford. He had just graduated from the program, and they moved him on to a staff member. Pretty big Hispanic dude. And my buddy Garrett's like, "Hey, he won't do my push-ups." And I'm like, "Whoa, I know, not that I won't do them, I can't do them." And the guy, Rich, is like, "No one's talking to you. no one's talking to you? And he's like, leave him with me, I got him. And he's like, do push-ups. And I'm like, okay, like I'm like, I can't do them, so I get down and start doing them, and then my arms collapse, and I was like, oh gosh. And then this guy Rich gets in my face, starts yelling at me. He's like, don't you say that? You're using my God's name in vain. Don't you ever say that again. You use my God's name. I was like, what? I was like, he's like, that's it. I guess a euphemism for God, and saying gosh, whatever. So, and he's like, do more push-ups, and I was like, okay, and I'm doing them again, and my arms collapse again. And I was like, oh god, oh shit, oh sorry, and like I just like on my knees, kind of like looking up at him. Dude, this guy pounces on me, throws me on my back, starts punching me in the face, grabbing my shirt, pulling me and headbutting me, and screaming at me the whole time, like saying like, don't, like, so I told you not to use my God's name in vain. Freaking just beating the shit out of me. It takes 3 staff to get him off of me. Like this guy is just in a fit of rage beating me up because I said gosh. And like then like the one of the staff tells my buddy Garrett, like, come get him, go take him to get cleaned up. And I remember he brought me to the bathroom and to get cleaned up, and I didn't understand what had happened. I just remember looking in the mirror, and like my lip was bleeding, my nose was bleeding. I was just and I was just all beat up, and I was just like, and I just started bawling, dude. I'm just like, oh shit, like what is happening? And then I like all that, I clean up and everything. And I remember going back to, and I go back to go climb up into my bunk bed with my buddy. And he's like, where are you going? I'm like, up to bed. He's like, you still have push-ups to do, man. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I can't do them. I just got the shit beat out of me for not doing them. And now you told me I still, and so literally the rest of the night until he turned out the lights was me, my first night, like doing push-ups, arms collapsing, him giving me 25 more push-ups because I couldn't do them. And like literally it was just that, and just all kids just sitting there kind of laughing and watching and stuff. Like, and that was like night 1 at the boarding school, dude. Like,
Do you remember them? What was that?
I said, just fucking crazy, dude. Like, it's crazy. But so what are you gonna ask?
Do you remember them giving you any sort of like paper manual that had the rules written on it, or was it kind of just your buddy's duty to explain everything to you?
The second one, the buddy's duty. Like they pick someone that's conformed to the system, that's been following the rules to teach the new kid, but also someone who's stern. That's not going to be, because if you got a buddy, and you were too easy on them, you would get in trouble. So they'd always pick someone that, like this guy Garrett, was complete. There's so much more that went on with him. Like normally a buddy, a new kid status, buddy status lasts a month, 3 months. I think I was on it. It was either six or 9 months I was on it, because basically he would decide on when you get off. And they were incentivized with shakes and burgers and stuff. When you have a buddy, you get these things every Friday. So they're incentivized to keep you on buddy status as long as possible, because they keep getting rewarded for having you as a buddy. Anyway, but yeah.
Were there points and levels there? How were you supposed to graduate the program?
So actually, let me check my battery on this thing, make sure. Yeah, we're good. So the thing is, you with the program, you start new kid status, where like I was, and then the staff determined based off how much you conformed, you can move up. So you start off with a buddy on new kid status, and then eventually you get to the point where you no longer need a buddy, but you're still considered a new kid. And they use colored shirts to determine where you're at in the program. So when I first started, their yellow shirt was a new kid. So if you saw a yellow shirt wandering around by themselves, like away from everybody, like that was a really bad thing. And so, yeah, then so yellow shirt status on new kid status, and then you get rid of your buddy, and then you're just a yellow shirt in this like transitional period. And then when you become an actual student, you're in a burgundy shirt. Well, they had red, white, and blue when I first started, but then they transitioned to burgundy. And then when you're a burgundy, you're like a normal kid, but you could always get demoted. Like all you had to do was upset a staff member, not do something that they didn't like, and they literally could just demote you right back to having a buddy. Like they literally would call you over, like, Jordan, come here. Here's your orange shirt, or here's your yellow shirt, and James is your buddy now. And like you're like all the stuff you've been working on, you're just demoted, and all it is based off the staff's emotions. Like, they could just be having a bad day or something, or they think you did something, and there's no arguing with them. So, and then when you became a burgundy shirt, or a normal student, you can work your way up. Like you can be a bathroom guy, where you're the one there with the stopwatch. We were given 4 minutes to shower, 1 minute to dry off in the shower, 4 minutes to go number two. So you're like, everything's timed in the bathroom. So if you're a bathroom guy, that was a privilege. You can take a longer shower. You can take as long as in going number two as you want. And then there was what was it called? It was a section leader. And the section leader is kind of like you're helping keep an eye on the dorm and run things for the staff member that's up front. And then you ultimately you get to move up to what a position is called junior staff, is like the highest position a student can be, where you're like, they trust you like to be wandering around by yourself and everything like that. And you're basically like a staff member, but not really, like, but you're just helping them do their job. So yeah.
And how long were you there?
I was there, I got there in 98. And I graduated 2001. And I mean, we can go into this later as we go chronologically, but I was so scared to leave the program. They had me so brainwashed that literally like the devil was out there waiting for me to just get me thrown in jail or on drugs or like whatever, that I stayed on transitional staff for like 6 months before I just couldn't take it anymore and I left. So, but yeah, and I was one of the guys that conformed to the program. Like literally, like I had nothing. Like I didn't. With your family, you're allowed to visit every 3 months from your family. I didn't see my family for 2 years after getting there. Like I had nothing besides the program, so I completely conformed. I was bathroom guy, section leader, junior staff. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
So you graduated, correct? And so you were there about 3 years, something like that?
Yeah, so I was there for my sophomore year through graduating, and then stayed on staff for about 6 months after that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets about your time there?
Like
being junior staff and like consequenting people or anything like that?
I wouldn't say that, because I ended up like being junior staff, but being buddy with a lot of people. Like if someone was obviously breaking the rules, I was enforcing. But like even when I was transitional staff, I was never like, I'm not a very physical person. So the staff members that were like abusing children and doing that, that just wasn't in my brain to like, I don't know, like it just never, like when I left the school and like as a staff member and like, or as a transitional staff, like kids were like straight like crying, and like, because I built so much friendships with them, and I kept getting in trouble as a staff member and a junior staff member because I wasn't being hard enough on the kids. But I would say that honestly, like the regret that I would have, if any, from there, I'm trying to think, dude, like part of me wonders if I shouldn't have conformed. Like I know why I conformed, to make my time there easier and to not be in trouble all the time, to make everything easier. But part of me always wonders like what it would have been like if I didn't conform. But then I see the kids that didn't conform, and dude, their lives were miserable, and a lot of them too. I see them outside the school now as an adult, and some of them aren't doing so well. Like some of them didn't conform, like they're doing okay. But then the other ones, like I think by them not conform, not saying it's the right thing or wrong thing to do, but I think by them not conforming and the staff being harder on them during their time there, I think it caused more psychological, emotional trauma for them that is now affecting them later in life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So maybe they held their ground and said, screw you, I'm not conforming to any of this stuff here. And then the staff were super hard on them, which ultimately, like, I think, yeah, I think it, yeah. So I don't know, man. Part of me wishes I kind of didn't conform, like I said, or ran away, or I think the biggest regret, I think, is not keeping track of what happened there. I wish I would have kept a journal or something, because I remember a lot of the stuff I remember them duct taping kids' heads to poles. I remember them beating the crap out of kids. I remember so many things happening. I remember these little stories here and there, but if I had, that's what I do. I regret that. I wish I would have had a journal or something that I kept secret of everything that freaking happened that was while I was there. When I got out, that I would have a moment like this where like all these documentaries are coming out, and like here is a day-by-day journal of all the shit that went on in the 3.5 years I was there, like date and stamp documentary of everything, like because it's because all of this is still coming down to our hearsay, right? It's coming down to like, oh, you know what? No, it wasn't that bad. Oh, he didn't, because I even started questioning it myself, dude. Like what happened to me my first night there? I'm like, am I glorifying it? Am I like making it into this bigger story than it really was? Was it really that bad? And then a student that was in that, because the student that was in the front bunk bed right there when this happened to me, him and I connected about a year and a half ago on Facebook, and he was just like, I was like, hey dude, like I gotta ask, man, like what? He's like, bro, I still think about that. Like that was one of the worst beat downs that we saw there during my time there, and I still think he's like, it was that staff member. He did that to you. Don't question it. Don't doubt it. Like that happened to you, you know. But yeah, but that the fact that that constantly happened at the school, like if I was able to keep track of it or keep it more better instead of blocking it out, I guess, right? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's great, but I don't know, and I don't think I wish I wouldn't have stayed on staff. I wish I wouldn't have believed all the shit that they told me about the devil being out there waiting to get me and whatever. Like I wish I would have just left the second I was able to get out of that place, dude, because um I don't know. Even though I don't have any regrets about being a staff or that I did anything wrong being a staff, but just the fact of saying that, like I was a transitional staff at Agape, like that just ugh. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
What was the hardest part about being there, and how did you deal with it?
I think it's gonna be emotional, dude. I think the hardest part about being there was like being abandoned, dude. Like just like having like going like being abandoned over and over again in life. Like, you know, my remember being a kid, I didn't understand how to process stuff. Like I felt like my mom abandoned me by dying, my dad abandoned me by being a drug addict. My aunt and uncle abandoned me when I was in junior high. Like my aunt kicked me out of the house. Then I moved in with my grandma. Then she couldn't handle me. Then I moved in with my other aunt and uncle. So bouncing around from family to family as a kid, just always feeling like abandoned. And then all of a sudden, my whole family like dumping me at Agape, and like you were allowed to get letters from your family. You were allowed to get like phone calls from your family. I think phone calls were every week or every other week, I think. And after you've been there for, I think it was like 30 days, you're allowed to have a phone call every 1 week or 2 week from your family. I think I was there 6 or 9 months before I heard from my family, you know, like a phone call, you know, like, and I think that was the hardest point is like, I kept thinking my family was coming for me. I kept holding on to this little bit of hope that my family any day now is going to come through the doors and be like, okay, we're taking you home. Um, and I remember one time my aunt, I think she had a phone call with me or it was a letter. I forget. I think it was a phone call because my grandma was the only one that wrote me, and I have all those letters. My grandma wrote me. Oh no, I wrote my grandma. Sorry, I wrote my grandma. She wrote me, but she kept all the letters I wrote her. But my aunt one time, I think it was a phone call because it was getting close to my 1 year. You had to be there at least a year. And my aunt called me and she was just like, she's like, hey, you know, blah, blah, like, you need to stop trying to manipulate your grandma to take you home. And I was like, what? She's like, stop asking her, when are you coming home? When is your time up? She's like, you're there till you graduate. You're there till you graduate. Nothing's going to change that. Like, you're there. You did this to yourself. And like, I think, dude, that helplessness of knowing that I was like being left to this like abusive environment for maybe 4 years, you know, like, I honestly, that was probably the hardest thing, just that the feeling of abandonment and no one to reach out to or talk to about it. And I don't know how I dealt, because I still deal with it, dude. Like I'm a 40-year-old man and still dealing with that, you know? So it's, I can't say I dealt with it, dude. Whenever I think about it, like it just breaks my heart all over again, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah. But,
Did they have any seminars there?
so I remember watching the you know, for the documentary they had like the seminars and stuff. Like we didn't do anything like that. It was more of a military style school. So we had boot camps and like punishments where you had to stand on the wall. You had to stand on the wall with your nose touching the wall for like all day long. And then like I said, a lot of boot camp stuff. Literally like they would just go work you out in the sun in the sand pit, they called it. It was like a volleyball court, but and they would just work you out hours upon hours and only give you water when they felt like, you know, you've earned it type of thing. And also like beat you up while they're working you out. Like if you're getting tired, they literally would just like pick you up and drag you across the sand, throw you around, beat you up. And if you really were like not conforming, they have boxing gloves, and the staff would put on boxing gloves and make you put on boxing gloves as a kid, and literally like be like, okay, you think you're better than us? You think you don't have to do what we're telling you to do? Come on, if you could beat me up, you don't have to keep working out. And so like, and force the kids to get in a boxing ring with a staff member, and literally just like, or with another student that was like twice their size or whatever, and have that student just beat the living crap out of them, you know. So it was, yeah, it wasn't really like any seminars. It was also very religious, fundamental independent Baptist. So we had, brace yourself. we had chapel service Monday night, Tuesday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Saturday night. And then we had church Wednesday night. And then on Sundays we had Sunday school in the morning, church in the morning, and then church in the evening. So what is that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 church services. I mean, chapel and church basically the same thing, just depends on what we wore. Literally like every single week, and you had to pay attention. You had to be there. You had to, every week we had 5 Bible verses we had memorized. Every morning we had 30 minutes of Bible reading we had to do. Yeah, it's just like, and that was it. Like you had no other option, you know, like you had to do it. So that religion and military style was their way of governing us.
It's interesting how you went to so much Bible and study stuff like that, but he still never came to save you. God still never came to save you. You know what I mean?
I know.
You're studying so much. I mean, obviously you weren't studying enough. I mean,
I know it's something wrong with me. It must have been me, like, right? Like, well,
yeah.
I still remember like when I sold out to it, man. I was like, man, if they say this Jesus thing is going to save me, and I sold out to it, and I still remember like being on my knees, just like crying, like praying to God, and like, why am I still depressed? Why am I still suicidal? Why, if I'm the closest, I'm reading my Bible every day, I'm memorizing verses, I'm studying it, I'm doing church, I'm doing all these things, doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, and then some, but I'm still super depressed and suicidal and sad and hate life and all these. What is wrong here? You know? Yeah, dude, I feel you. It's no. It's and my family thinks that place drove me away from. I feel like that place opened my eyes to what religion really is and how controlling it is.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, not trying to get all like dogmatic
Yeah.
on here, but it's
Yeah.
just, oh yeah.
Um, have you talked to your family about how this place affected you?
Not initially, because the school had me convinced that I had to be a certain type of child for my family to love me, and I wanted them to love me. So when I got out of school and I was this perfectly chiseled Christian young man, like I was exactly what they wanted me to be, and they loved me. So I was so worried about talking about what actually happened at the school to them. I gradually would bring it up over the years and stuff, and at first they didn't believe it. They were kind of like, you know, they just never really paid it much attention. But this documentary, I texted my aunt, who was like one of the main people that decided on sending me to the school. I said, "Hey, can you please watch this?" And she did, and she was just like, so they want to have a sit down with me and talk, because they're like, we're sorry. We were that's not what they told us when they sold us on what it was. They didn't say it was that. We had no idea, like, and so my cousins, I've talked to a few of them about it. My girlfriend, I've talked to her about it, but some of my other, I don't know. It's just, this may sound weird, but like, as much as I think it'll be healing for me to like just let them know what went on there and how it made me feel and what it did to me. I also I think I'm still kind of worried about my relationship with them, and I don't want to damage it, but I also don't want to make them feel guilty, because I feel like they were duped, right?
I feel
Okay,
it.
thank you. Yeah, okay. Okay, good. Because I didn't know if like because a lot of people are like, screw my parents. Like, I hate them for sending me there. I'm like, oh, like, I don't want to make them feel bad, you know? So,
Yeah, definitely. I feel that.
yeah, but we'll see. I'll have to let you know how it goes when I actually do sit down with them, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I even want out of the conversation, to be honest with you. Like, yeah, like I said, I keep saying I'm 40 now. I'm old now. My time's past. This stuff's happened to me. Like, I don't know what they could say or do that would remotely fix the last 20 something years of dealing with this and keeping it in, you know, like.
I don't think it'll instantly fix it, but it will, because my mom just watched it, and me and her just like our relationship now is like so much stronger. Like she's flat out
Okay.
looking me in the eyes, and she said, I'm really, really sorry. Like I had no idea.
Oh, wow.
And so
Yeah,
I mean, like
so,
the fact that they watched it,
yeah.
like, and the fact they want to talk to you, like, I guarantee it's gonna be like it's gonna be healing for you.
I mean, like, but how, like, yeah, like, how do you, like, I'm not, sorry, once again, I know you're supposed to be asking me questions, but this is like, I'm curious about this. Like, how, like, I mean, obviously she watched it, but how did the conversation go? Like, just maybe if I can get like a preview, like, did she just say, hey, can you tell me in detail what happened there? Or like what? And like,
We just watched the documentary together, and then we paused it when she wanted to, like, she'd be like pause, and then she'd be like, I thought this was happening, what was actually happening, and then I'd tell her, and then
wow, dude, that's huge, man. Okay, yeah, that's cool.
I
Maybe I
mean,
could, because I don't know
I'm
how
like
to do it. Like, yeah.
I'm like 95% sure this is going to be healing for you.
Yeah, I just don't know. I want to do it right. Like, and I like that. I like that plan of like maybe watching it together and like that is. So I'm like, I don't know how. Like, I have no idea how to like, because you been keeping this inside for so long, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, thinking also that no one's going to believe you talking about it. I mean, people believe in other survivors and stuff and friends, but your family. So, um, that is actually. I hope other people are watching this. Maybe that I think that's a really good idea of how to do it like that. Interesting. Okay, man. I don't know why, dude. I got emotional right there when you were talking about like you're talking about like sitting and watching out with your mom. Like that just sounds like that does sound amazing. Like being able to do that. It's a shitty thing to have to talk about and go over, but to have the person that person there with you, like watching it and going through like that. That sounds cool, man. Damn.
Yeah. Um, how was the food there? Was it horrible? Was it bearable? Was it
Uh,
okay?
they fed us good, man. I'll be honest with you. They fed us. They used food as a punishment. So if you were acting out or something like that, like you literally could be on salad, and that's it, you know. Um, but they fed us good. I can't complain about the food. Like I think it was Monday mornings were like giant pancakes. They make giant pancakes with different fillers, like M&Ms or peanut butter or something like that in the middle of these pancakes with syrup all over it. And they did feed us pretty dang good there, you know. So I mean and not saying not defending the program whatsoever. But yeah, that's something I don't think I could complain about because I mean that and like Sundays were always these burgers, they grill burgers for us and stuff like that. And yeah, I can't complain about that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was the worst thing that you saw there or heard about? And you can list more than one if you want.
I think the thing that stuck with me still all these years later because it was a moment of like you wish you could have done something for them, like but no, all of us we couldn't. We had to sit back. There's a student that was there named Scott Thompson. He just was always acting out, like, but not acting out in a rebellious way, but almost like kind of like a clueless, not understanding he was breaking the rules kind of way. And remember I was telling you the punishment is you have to stand on the wall with your nose. But when we were out in free time, you have to stand with your nose on a pole, like a basketball pole or something of that nature. And he just wasn't keeping his head on the pole. He was like constantly, because I mean, all the kids are playing around him. You know, he's the one kid on the pole, and there's 200 kids playing around you, and this kid has ADD or whatever, and he's just looking around constantly. So Brian Clemenson, he's like one of the main guys that runs a boarding school. So the Clemenson family ran Agape. He's the son of the owner. Grown man, probably in his like mid 40s at the time, comes up to Scott, holds his head like I think he might have had another staff member hold his head, but takes duct tape and duct tapes this kid's head to the pole. Just duct tapes his fucking head to a pole. Like nothing between his hair and the tape or nothing. Just tape around his hair, around the pole, and just tapes his head there and just leaves him there. and everyone's just like looking at this thing, going, what the hell? And like the kid's like screaming, and but he can't move his head off the pole, and like and there's just like Sapo laughing at him, whatever. And like you never leave a student alone. Like everyone goes together. They just left him there like that. We went down to the dorms to do something like a bathroom break or something, just left him freaking duct taped his fucking head to a pole. Like, and this kid's like, I think when he's maybe like 12 or 13 years old, and like just leaves him there, like, and then comes back, and I don't remember the process of getting the tape off, like, but I imagine that was right. It's like what, like, it's I mean, and then also that same guy, that same kid Scott, he at one point, Brian Clemenson's daughter, because the staff families are there. You're not supposed to talk to them. You're not supposed to look at them. But the daughter is about the same size, or same age as Scott. And Scott turns and says something to her when she's walking by, like, "Hi, ma'am. Like, how are you doing today?" or something small like that. What we call him Brother Brian. Brother Brian had heard about this, and word got back to him. I remember I wasn't in the dorm because he was in the dorm next to us, but we shared walls with all the dorms. And Brian came down, and literally, like I heard about what happened, and you could hear another. He literally was just taking this kid and just throwing him across the dorm, picking up, just fucking throwing him across the floor. I mean, the room, the dorm, and like slamming him on the ground and just screaming at him, like, "Don't you ever talk to my daughter again, you piece of blah blah blah," and just fucking beating the shit out of this little like 13-year-old kid, dude, like just beating the shit out of him, because he not supposed to, but all he did was say, turn super politely, said something like, "How are you doing today, ma'am?" or something to his daughter. That poor kid, dude, like and they just that was just like a brief snippet of how they treated him. But and I think that was the thing that was like also one of the hardest things there was like just seeing these kids come there. There's teenagers and me, 15-year-old getting punched in the face. That's still wrong. But seeing like little kids being like restrained by like little like 9, 10, 11-year-old kid that's like acting out because they missed their mom or something like that, being restrained by some 300-pound fucking fat ass, just like throwing them around and laying on them and stuff like that, just to fucking, for whatever reason, like just watching that and being powerless to be able to do anything about it, and just seeing them, like it's so bad, dude. Like yeah, like I don't know, like that I think was probably the worst um thing of having to like witness there, and just having to sit back and watch other like kids get restrained and beat up and whatever, and not being able to do anything about it. um yeah, I don't know, man. But I think that the thing with the kid Scott, like that, just still, I literally can still picture it today, just him with his face like duct tape, just screaming and like screaming, like throwing his hands, but like can't move and nothing like that. It's like, um, yeah, it's pretty bad, dude. But yeah, I don't know. It's
Okay.
crazy.
What about, was there anything good at all about that experience? And it's perfectly fine if there wasn't.
Honestly, I think the thing that came, like the good that came out of it, well, and I'm not saying that I think I should have been I sent somewhere differently, right? I needed some other kind of help, but so I had a best buddy, a best friend of mine that I was like, we did everything together before I got sent to Agape, everything together, like drugs, all the stuff, right? I ran into him. I haven't seen, obviously, I lost touch with him. I ran into him probably about like 10 years ago, randomly at a Walmart, like in the town I grew up in. And I'm like sitting there, and all of a sudden there's this guy behind me in line at Walmart, and like I'm wearing a suit and tie because of where I was working at the time. And like basically, like I was like, oh my God, like bro, like I haven't seen you since I got sent to the boarding school. And I like asked him, I was like we went out in the parking lot, we were catching up and talking. I'm like he's like, what happened to you? I explained to him the school and all this shit. And I was like, what about you, dude? I'm like, what happened with your life? He's like, dude, he's like, man, like, he's all, it's a good thing you got sent to that place, because I just kept doing what we were doing, and I stopped just, then I started went from selling marijuana to selling meth. He's like, I became like one of the top meth dealers in like the county, and I was doing really well, but like, and he's like, but I knocked a girl up, got her pregnant, and then got caught up with the law. I got arrested. Child Protective Services took my daughter away. I went to maximum security prison. And he's like, I'm like living with my mom right now. I can't get a job. Like, he's like, dude, he's like, a good thing your family sent you away, bro. Like, cause like really, like I would have been neck and neck with him on all that stuff. So there's that aspect that something good did come out of it. I didn't end up going down that path. And also, honestly, dude, I'd say my brothers, dude, like the guys that I went through Agape with, like even though we've all gone different paths, some on drugs, some not on drugs, some super religious, some whatever, but no matter what, like we're still there for each other. Like 20 something years later, like they literally could just call me like any of the students that I went through boarding school with, you know, like the fellow other my the dudes I was with, they can call me. They know they can call me, and vice versa. If I'm having a moment, need someone to talk to or whatever, and there's no doubt about it, there's no judgment. It's like, you know, I love you, man. Like because of the shit that we went through together, like that bond, like and this too, like the survivor community, dude. Like I mean, it sucks that we're bonding over something so shitty, but it's also opened up the ability to meet some amazing freaking people that like would have never connected with, you know. Um, but besides that, no, dude, like, you know, it also, oh, I guess maybe another thing is it opened up my eyes to how shitty religion is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, yeah, I think, yeah, if I had to pick any good, I'd say that it's just those things, but that's about it, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Did they have an isolation there? Like an isolation unit?
They didn't at first when I first got there, but eventually they got a room that they called like the padded palace. It literally just had carpet everywhere and like no cameras, no nothing in there. And they literally would just take the kids that were misbehaving, remove them from the other students seeing them, you know, and the staff would just go in there and like just beat the shit out of them in this room and like take turns, you know, literally like WWE World Wrestling, like tagging the next staff member to go in when the ones were getting tired and just keep beating the shit out of them, you know. Um, so yeah, before though, when I first got there, they didn't care. They would do it in front of everyone to try to instill fear in the other children. Like if you act out, this is going to happen to you. But something changed. I don't know what, but something changed like about halfway through my time there, where they got a lot more careful of how they were doing the restraints. The
Interesting.
restraints, instead of just beating the shit out of people, they literally like had an organized way of doing restraints and removing the troubled child from the group into this isolation room where they could do it out of sight. So I don't know, something happened. I don't know what, but they had this dramatic. They still beat the crap out of us, but they now was in secret where no one else could watch. It was really weird.
And this was just a boys' school, correct?
Correct. Yep. Just a boys' school. Yeah. I don't know why they never went the route of the girls, but I think just with it being a military school, they just always stuck with boys. So yeah.
Okay. And if you had to estimate how many people were there when you got there and how many people were there when you left?
So I think when I got there, I'd say there's like maybe like 100 something. And I think around the peak of my time there was around the most students, it was around like 200 something. And then yeah, when I left, I'm not too sure. I'd say maybe like 170, 180.
Okay.
And it's ironically most of the kids were from Southern Cal, like from California, but mainly if you really had to get to the demographic, most of them were from Southern California, which is really weird because it was all the way out in Missouri. So yeah.
Okay. And did this place have a graduation ceremony at all?
Yeah, yeah, I graduated. I got a worthless diploma from them because I mean they were said they're accredited, but they use what's called a PACE program. With it's called ACE curriculum. I'm not sure if you've heard of it or it's like
Uh,
really religious.
no, I haven't. It's probably like switched on Schoolhouse and all that bullshit, right?
Yeah, basically it was a bunch of these little pamphlets, and I think 12 of these pamphlets equaled a grade. Like so, like geometry was like 12 of these, but like the math, bro, like the math was like I use the example of it. It was like trying to teach you addition. And it's like Johnny has one apple, and God grew a tree over here with three other apples for Johnny. Think because of God, how many apples does Johnny now have? And you're like, well, four, you know, or whatever it is, you know, like it was like super.
Yeah.
It's you look it up online, it looks like a joke, man. It's so crappy. I didn't tell people I went to that. I told people I went to a boarding school, but I didn't say what kind of school it was, and thankfully no one ever asked to like actually look it up because it turns out it wasn't officially accredited, so which sucks. But
Okay, let's talk about reintegration into society. What have you struggled with the most as a result of the program? What do you still struggle with as to this day? And yeah.
Like getting back, like, 'cause, you know, they don't teach us anything about the real world and how to be in it. So, um, like a lot of social anxiety. Like it was just really, I just didn't want to be around people, be out in public, be around anyone, you know. It was really uncomfortable talking to women because you weren't at the school, you weren't allowed to talk to women at all. So, not even look at them. So, like going through the grocery line and there's a pretty girl that's the cashier, like that, like I literally would avoid those lines and try to find one where there's like a man working it or something of that nature, you know.
Yeah.
Didn't have a drive. I was 19, you know, driver's license, not a penny saved, nothing like that, you know. Didn't even know about any of that kind of stuff. And yeah, I started. They try to get you into a church when you leave Agape. They to help you succeed in the real world. They try to find an independent fundamental Baptist church in your area for you to get into, so you don't fall by the wayside and fuck up and end up in jail and on drugs. That's their excuse, but really that's so they can keep brainwashing you and keeping you controlled. So they hooked me up with the church. I didn't like that church. I bounced around from church to church trying to find a fit, and then I just started like hanging out with these kids from one of the churches, but they're like the bad kids, like going out drinking and stuff like that. Didn't really partake, but I would hang out with them. Um, but like, dude, I think the thing, and I'm not condoning drugs, like you know what, you know, so I don't want someone to watch this and be like, oh, you know, druggy dude. But um, I was working a job and I really liked EDM, you know, like electronic dance music, and I just liked it because it sounded good. And my boss one time, we get in my car to go drive somewhere, and he's just like, I'm playing music, and he's like, oh, you like this music? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I love this music. He's like, dude, have you ever been to a rave? I'm like, a what? I don't even know what that is, you know. And so this my manager at the time, he like invited me to go to like it was a, what we, you know, a massive rave where like literally like 20, 30,000 people at the same. And so like I remember going with him and going there and like being there and like I'm there and it's so like I'm just so out of my element, you know. So I was like I started drinking while I'm there to try to whatever. And I remember at one point they walk up with some pills and they're like, hey, you know, like you want some? And I'm like, I know better than take drugs. So I'm like, no, I'm good. You know, not knowing even what it was, but it was ecstasy, obviously. And they take it, and I started like the night goes on, I realized that everyone else is really enjoying themselves a lot more than I am. And so finally, like they asked me again. I'm like, okay, sure, why not? You know. And dude, I don't know how to explain it, but like it opened up a whole another side of my psyche that I didn't know existed. That I could be happy, I could experience love, I could experience social interaction with people and not be judged. It like so I became a hardcore raver for like I think it was a couple years after straight, and that like dude that maybe I shouldn't have used so many drugs during that time, but like that just opened up so much of my life, dude. And like so I mean that I'm not condoning it, but I think
Yeah.
that was like the turning point, bro. Like really to help me like, and that was at age I think I was like 26 or 27 around that time, something like that. So that's really what I think helped transition me into like social interact. But even still now, like I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I haven't done it for years, especially after COVID. Like I'm back to like social anxiety, dude. Like I am like going out in public now. Like I'll do it, force myself to do it, but like I hit a breaking point where I'm just like too much social interaction. I need to leave. I need an excuse to leave right now and get home and be just in my studio by myself, away from people. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, crazy. That's so
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah. Don't feel bad. There's actually MDMA therapy now. So
Oh really?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Which makes sense, dude. It helped out so much, bro. Like once I stopped doing it, like I knew this happy side of me existed, and I can interact with people and like not be judged and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I have to look into. There's really MDMA therapy, huh?
Yeah, but just for a side note, if anybody's thinking about that, make sure you're going to a doctor for it and you're actually getting like the real thing, especially nowadays.
Oh my
Or make
god.
sure you're testing your fucking drugs, because I mean, if you're gonna use, I'm not condoning that at all, but if you're
Right.
going to test your fucking shit,
Yeah,
please.
dude, you see all so much stuff on the news. That's scary. But yeah, I know I agree with you. It's It's too bad there's not like a less harmful version of something like that that could just like for people with PTSD like us that like could just take it and you know
Well, you can't.
feel.
You just go to a doctor for it. In
Oh,
some
really?
places, it's not.
That's
I think Portland maybe. Don't quote me on that. Maybe has MDMA therapy, but they've also legalized a lot of things. So,
dude, that's huge. Literally, because I've always been hesitant, like kind of going into that because dude, it helped me so
yeah,
much, and I know so many other people too that like that's helped too. So once again, to like what you're saying, I'm not condoning it,
yeah,
but just saying what helped me personally, like that really did. Like, I still have my issues, man. I'm still
yeah,
fucked
yeah, yeah.
up.
If you could go back in a time machine and not go through this place, would you do it, and why?
Oh, that's hard, dude. Because remember after seeing my buddy, like seeing like how life potentially could have turned out for me, like that. But I wouldn't want to go if I could not go to this place, like go to Agape, 100%, dude. I would rather. I mean, I know I realize it would be me giving up on all the friends I made through the program, and that but at the same time, like if I can go back, I wouldn't, dude. I wish I can go back in a time machine because I've thought about this a lot. Obviously you have a lot of time in the programs to think of. I just wish I could go back to myself as a child and just tell myself, like, dude, like, find a more productive way of acting out, dude. Like, find a better way of acting out that's not going to get you in trouble, and like, and ask for help. Find a way to ask for help in a way that the adults can understand, because I felt like I was asking for help by acting out and doing these things because I was getting undivided attention by always being in trouble. But like, I wish I would have understood it better, man. But 100%, if I can go back and not go through this program, dude, like, oh my God, man. Oh yeah, that.
Okay. What do you think you needed instead of being sent to this place? What do you think would have helped you?
I honestly, I think I needed to know that I was loved, man. Like the family I grew up in, like even with my aunt and uncle and stuff, but there was no hugs, there was no I love you, there was no. It was literally like you were a child, you had to do your duty, or you got in trouble or punished if you weren't like within the format of what the adults wanted you to be. But there was no like their way of loving me was food on the table, clothes on your back. I'm getting you to school. Like that was that. But there's no, I love you, none of that. Like, so I honestly think if someone would have just literally taken the time to be like hugging me and like I love you and you're enough. Like I love you and you are enough. I love you the way that you are and you are enough. And none of this stuff that happened in your life is your fault. And like I wish if I would have had someone that understood what I went through by losing my mom and losing my dad and all that stuff, if I would have known had someone in my life that understood that and how to properly um, address that, I think that would have dramatically changed the projection of my life. But literally, no one addressed it. Literally, my mom died; she was gone, and then I just bounced around from family to family to family. Um, and yeah, and so and no fault to my family. Like they didn't know either. No one gave them a manual with me and said, "Hey, here's how you need to handle this kid." Like they all this being said, they did. I think now as an adult, like, they did the best that they knew how to do with what they had. But if I could have had that as a child, I think that would, like I said, yeah, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. I think that would have really helped me out, man.
Okay. Um, is it your belief that these places could or even should or even could be fully regulated, or is it your belief that they should all just be shut down, the ones that are still open?
I I think any of these programs that are for profit, I think is a major, like, I don't know any ones that exist that aren't for profit.
Yeah.
But the for the profit, like that, those are the ones that like just get them fucking, they need to be shut down, be done with. But if there were ones that were regulated by the state with people working there that understood how to really help the children, and there was a what do you call it? A tracking thing of
Yeah.
what are we doing with these kids? What's happening with them when they get out of the program? Let's check in with them 5, 10, 15 years. Okay, crap, that the kids that we were doing this to at this time, 10 years from now, they're not doing so well, right? and constantly like adjusting the program to improve and get better, to really do what's best for the children and not do it for a financial profit of anyone. And having it be highly regulated, not religious, not military, no structured kind of type wilderness program or anything like that. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think because we needed help, dude. Like, I don't know about you, but like a lot of us kids, we needed help, but we didn't get the right kind of help, you know? So yeah, basically sum it up, for profit, gone. Anyone with any kind of theme, gone. A religious, military, wilderness, gone. And literally like emotionally healing, supportive environment, like that. I think that's, in my mind, that's it. Like, if we could get that, because these programs, I think the biggest crime that they did, besides all the abuse and everything like that, like if you were to move all that out, the biggest crime is that they had an opportunity to help so many children to get a better life for themselves, and they just fucked that up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they had such a good opportunity to make a big major impact, and they just fucked it up, you know, for money, for whatever, you know. So yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you want people to know about your experience at the school, or is there anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
If I'm talking to a parent that's thinking about it, let your emotions go. Stop making a decision with your emotions. These places feed off of that. They feed off the fact that you're emotional, you're at your wit's end, you don't know what to do with your child, and they feed off of that, and they are going to tell you exactly what you need to hear to get your kid into their program. So remove your emotions. Don't make an emotional decision off your child to send them off because they're acting out. Take some time to really sit down and talk with them and explore different options. Don't let just some smooth talker talk you into that. I guess, and to other survivors, dude, like, that are listening to this or watching this, if hopefully people watch it and they get something out of it. But if anything they get out of this, I would say for them to tell their story. Like, tell your story, get your story out there. Come on this podcast, come on here, go on anywhere you can, use these platforms, be selfish, because it is going to be so therapeutic for you to get your story out there and be heard. To have this right here to talk to you, you're asking me questions. You're not questioning me about, wait, did that really happen? You're asking me questions about what happened, and that you're listening to me. Like, this is so therapeutic. Like, so I encourage like, any survivor listening, your story matters. Even if you didn't get punched in the face and thrown around, you still had so many things happen to you going through whatever program you went through. Get your story out there, speak up, say something. I'm not saying go to every single person at work and stuff like that and be like, oh, I was, like, whatever you feel best, but find a podcast, find someone like yours. Come on here and share your story. Even if you think that no one's going to listen to it or it doesn't matter, it does matter. Like, this is like, they wanted you to believe that you don't matter and that your story doesn't matter. So the biggest way to say fuck you to these programs, in my opinion, like, one of the biggest ways, is to speak up and share your story, and don't let them win. Because I feel like if people are still sitting at home, like, thinking, oh, my story doesn't matter, oh, well, it wasn't that bad for me, oh, no one's going to listen to me, that's like what the program wants us to think and not speak up. So the second you open your mouth and start speaking up against them, you're winning now, you know? So, yeah, I got fired up right there, dude. Right?
No, you're good. Totally awesome. All
Yeah.
right, thank you so much for coming on the show. And if you ever want to do part 2, let me know and we'll make it happen.
For
And
sure.
if anybody watch,
Oh,
what?
can I refer people to you too?
Oh,
Like,
go ahead. Yeah,
oh,
send them
cool,
my way.
cool.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Sorry. All right.
If anybody's watched this far in the video, please make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're not already, and share it to everybody. Let's blow this internet up with all these videos until these places get shut down.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.